Quite a statement. In response, Patrick Morrissey, Attorney General for the state of West Virginia, announcing that once the EPA finalizes this regulation, West Virginia will go to court and challenge it, calling the proposal flatly illegal. He joins us now, and Attorney General Morrissey, you got some backing from the Wall Street Journal's lead editorial today, just sort of stridently talking about this as a complete abuse of power, saying without a vote in Congress or even much public debate, Mr. Obama is using his last 18 months to dictate U.S. energy choices for the next 20 or 30 years. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's truly unbelievable. I think it's important for people to see just how unprecedented this proposal is. First, they didn't go through Congress the way any major initiative typically does. Second, what they're doing here is they're taking the Clean Air Act, which is supposed to regulate in the environmental area, and they're radically transforming it. They're trying to help manage states' energy portfolios. That's one of the major reasons why I think this ultimately will fall on the courts. But this administration knows that, and they roll these proposals out knowing that the court cases may take some time to work their way through, but meanwhile they think they can claim a victory. We're hopeful we can change that because their legal theories are very flimsy, and while they made a number of changes from the proposed rule to the final rule, I still think we have the better of the legal arguments.
They did get the 2007 decision, which was a little bit, I don't know, surprising to some extent, classifying carbon dioxide, the ubiquitous gas that is necessary for all plant life and photosynthesis. Regulating that as a pollutant was kind of a leap of faith in the first place a couple of years ago. But they got that, and that gives them the power to do a lot of things, doesn't it?
Well, I know that everyone cites the Supreme Court case from 2007, Massachusetts v. EPA, which talks kind of generically carbon dioxide, but you still have to actually apply the Clean Air Act. And the way they did this here, it really is illegal. You have to have specific authority to act the way they do. So if folks cite the Supreme Court case, you have to also look at the fact that the Clean Air Act does envision the regulation of coal-fired power plants, but it bars the double regulation of coal-fired power plants. The administration already regulated, did national standards, but now they're kind of trying to come back and get a second bite at the apple on these state standards.
Attorney General, we know that, remember with the tobacco litigation a while ago, and there might be a state that had a big presence with Philip Morris or Reynolds or something, and back then it would be purely about money and protecting an industry that was, you know, specific to that state. For West Virginia, obviously, a lot of your constituents, their livelihood is based on coal. Is it anything more that you're doing here, just trying to protect an in-state livelihood or industry for West Virginia?
Well, we're certainly trying to protect jobs in West Virginia, there's no doubt about that. But I think there's a much greater principle here. You really have an attempt to radically transform American energy policy on the basis of some of the flimsiest legal arguments. And what they're doing here is really important for all states, not simply coal-producing states. If you can convert the Environmental Protection Agency, which is an environmental regulator, into a central energy planning authority, that spells bad news for the next few decades. It's really a massive and radical power grab, and I think it's important for people to focus on that, whether you're in a coal state or not. The other point that I would make is even if you're not in a coal state, it seems to me that the math is clear. If you move more coal-fired power plants offline from baseline, you have to build new non-coal-fired power plants. This isn't fuzzy math. It's not free, and ultimately it's going to cost American consumers a lot of money.
We have an older soundbite. It's a different. It's the president talking about his cap and trade plan, which obviously this is not cap and trade. But I'm just going to play it. It's long. It's 31 seconds, but just for an idea of the mindset that goes into some of these decisions. Let's take a quick look.
Sure.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal power plants, natural gas, you name it, whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
Okay. Pretty amazing, and you know, we just had a poll today that 65% of Americans think we're headed in the wrong direction, basically because of the economy. But to see you're talking about climate models that are forecasting some dire occurrences 20, 30 years from now as the greatest threat, and to really sort of pass on the economic implications of this. And you can see he's fully ready to do that a couple of years. I mean, I don't think he's changed that much since 2008, but the economic concerns are definitely secondary.
I think you had a real candid moment.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think you had a very candid moment back in 2008 when he talked about cap and trade, when he talked about bankrupting coal-fired power plants. But I think you're onto a really important point. If you're going to move the amount of renewables up to that level, you're going to have to reduce so much coal-fired power that has to get borne by someone. Now, when the president says that that's actually going to save money, we know that the math can add up, because ultimately there are significant expenses in building these new coal-fired power plants. The other critical point is that this is happening at a time when China, India, Germany, countries across the globe are building power plant after power plant, coal-fire based, and yet we're unilaterally disarming. I think that this represents a bad message for our country and for the world, because if you want to impact the environment favorably, come to Congress, have a debate, compromise. Don't allow unelected bureaucrats to get away with this on the basis of what's literally a legal typo.
Okay, Attorney General Morrissey, we appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Coming up,
Thank you very much.
the CEO of Patriot